Welcome to Texas Border Watch, your eyes on the front line for all things immigration, border security, and local policy. I'm Jordan Elder. Mexico is activating emergency controls because they have found another case of New World screwworm, and it's the closest one yet to the United States border. Just as a refresher, this is the New World screwworm. It is a larva that preys on the tissue of living animals. So if you have wounded livestock, it can be really dangerous. And for a long time, this was eradicated in North America. There was no concern. But now we're starting to see cases in Central America and up into Mexico. This latest one right here, it's a town called Sabinas Hidalgo, and it's about 75 miles south of Laredo. So obviously, this is causing some concern. In this new case, the infected animal was discovered, and the country's agriculture ministry says it was detected during a routine livestock inspection. There's been a lot of those going on in Mexico since this has started to spread. Of the 100 cattle within that shipment, only one showed signs of the parasite, and officials say the larvae were in an early stage, meaning there was no chance for the adult flies to develop. So this is an example of what that means. They found the larvae, which eventually grows into the fly, and the fly is how this screwworm ends up spreading. So the good news is all of the traps that are set up in northern Mexico have not detected the fly. They only detected this larva in that shipment, which means the risk of spread, at least according to Mexico, is still low as of now. However, United States lawmakers are pretty concerned about this. This could have huge impacts on our livestock industry, the trade, and the beef industry if this does end up crossing the border into the United States. So the U.S. has already shut down trade over the border with Mexico of livestock. That's been going on for a couple months now. But Mexico has said that they want to try to ramp up the prevention of this because they're losing a lot of money. Mexico's Ranching Federation estimates losses of up to $400 million if the border continues to be closed to this kind of trade. The United States and Mexico want to work together to stop the flow of illegal firearm trade back and forth across the border. So to do that, Mexico has agreed to start using e-trace, which is a firearm tracing program and ballistic imaging technology, and they're going to use that in all 32 of their states, and the countries are going to work together on investigations and intelligence sharing. So e-trace is a big thing with the ATF here in the United States. Essentially, this lays out the way that it works. Law enforcement recovers a gun that can be either in the United States, in Mexico, and they request e-trace. So that tells them who made the gun, who is it licensed to, is there anything super specific about it that they can use to connect it to other crime scenes. They look through all of the transaction records, and they're trying to figure out where they came from. The end goal is to find the purchaser or where that gun originated, and that helps you eventually solve the crime or link it to other crimes. So this is an issue that's been going on for a while. We know that traces performed by the ATF on guns recovered at Mexican crime scenes have consistently shown that at least 2/3 of those guns are coming from the United States. And here in Texas, the number is even higher. About 1 in 4 guns recovered from those crime scenes from 2017 to 2021 were from Texas. It was actually about 29%. So as the United States agreement in this deal, they have said that they're going to ramp up inspections because they want to stop the southbound smuggling of guns from the United States into Mexico. So the Mexican president talked about this a little bit earlier this week because U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio also met up, and they were talking about the best strategies to make sure that these weapons don't get transferred.
Yesterday, the committee that was formed to address security issues held its first meeting, following the visit by the U.S. Secretary of State. And we told them, they always say the central issue is what goes from Mexico to the United States. But now we want, for the first time, the first item to be discussed to be the weapons that come from the United States to Mexico. An agreement that the United States will step up operations in the United States to control the flow of weapons from the United States to Mexico. An agreement of this kind had never been reached before.
This is a map for you from the ATF that shows some of those major gun trafficking pipelines. As you can see, there's a lot of lines here, these red dotted lines coming from Texas across the border. And then these yellow lines coming up here are the drug trafficking pipelines. So there's a lot of this going back and forth over the border, and the goal is to cut all of that off. As of late Tuesday night, the United States government is in a shutdown, so we wanted to break down what that's going to mean for border security, for ICE operations, and some of those ongoing efforts that we've been seeing across the country. For starters, Border Patrol agents and ICE agents are still going to be working. They're just not going to be getting paid for that right now. ICE posted and said there are no changes to the law or enforcement at the moment, and Border Patrol Chief Mike Banks also says nothing has changed. Do not enter the country illegally. So we have seen this whole situation play out before in previous government shutdowns. The difference right now is that mass deportation campaign. There's been such an emphasis on that. So some of the court proceedings are still going to continue. A Department of Justice plan says that courts will continue with removal proceedings because they are considered essential employees under the national emergency that President Trump declared for illegal immigration. Now, some of these cases could see delays, but overall the process will continue, which is why it's in yellow on here. And then social media is being paused right now. We're seeing a lot of different CBP accounts and DHS accounts posting saying, hey, this is not going to be updated for the time being because those employees are kind of on standby for the shutdown. But a lot of that boots on the ground work is going to be continuing until the shutdown ends. And as of right now, on Wednesday, we don't know when that will be. So we will keep you updated on all of this, and then we'll bring you what happens next in terms of back pay for all of these workers. If there are any layoffs or furloughs, we'll let you know about those as well. For Texas Border Watch, I'm Jordan Elder. You can read all of these stories more in depth over on our websites, news4sanantonio.com and foxsanantonio.com.